Hello, listeners. Welcome to the very first episode of Commercial Minds. My name is Teny Kuti, and I'm joined by my commercially minded friend, Modou Keita.
Hello guys, how's it going? Pleasure to be here and really looking forward to talking to you guys.
Okay, so, Commercial Minds, what is it? Why should you listen? It's a podcast that will be uploaded every 2 weeks, or fortnight if you're so inclined, where we discuss the latest news and events in the commercial world, and hopefully make it that much easier for you all to understand this crazy, hyper-fast world, hyper-commercial world that we all live in.
Yeah, definitely, you're right. We live in the age of, what do they call it, information overload. So yeah, what we hope to do at this in this podcast is to simplify some of the financial concepts and other stuff like that to really its core. As we all know, commercial awareness is very, very important, especially for certain professions and business students, law students. If you're going into it, you're going to want to have this skill. So that's it's something you want to build into your skill set, and the easiest way you can do it is just keeping up with the news. Because basically, how would you define it?
How would I define commercial awareness?
Well, because I would just define it as keeping up, I guess, knowing how the business world works.
Commercial awareness, in my mind anyway, is just, being like, to know what commercialness is, basically. Like, what makes a business commercial. And, pretty much.
Yeah. So it's very important, and I think the major thing about it is companies will expect you to know how. They don't expect you to know everything, of course, but they expect you to know the bare minimums of how they do business, how their clients do business with them, what do their clients do, so that when you come in, you can just fit right into that mold, and you can run with it. They want to develop you, they want to build you, but they want you to have your own basis for them to build on.
Yeah, they want you to have your own basis of commercial awareness, which, I just thought of it, is to know what impacts a business.
He's lying, he just Googled it.
I didn't.
No, but yeah, you're absolutely right. It is about that. Yeah, definitely. So basically, the format in this podcast is basically going to be we're going to bring along a couple of news stories, commercial developments that are happening, and go through it and explain the effects and main issues about it, and any other things to add to that?
Yeah, no, that's perfect. So every fortnight, one of us will basically be leading the show. This week it's me, next week, in the next 2 weeks it'll be you, and we'll alternate.
Yep.
Whoever's leading will basically pick out the biggest stories, and we'll just bring to the podcast and discuss it.
And we got some exciting stories for you.
That we do. We also want to use the podcast to highlight some interesting people within the commercial world. So on an ad hoc basis, we'll be adding an interview series into the regular show, where we'll essentially just interview someone in the commercial world. Either myself or Modou will do it, or maybe even both of us, and we'll ask them questions, and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, it's really important to, gain from the experiences of these people, because, what better way to learn than from someone who's been through it.
Exactly, and a lot of us sort of see, this commercial world as, this big, sort of faceless sort of entity that no one really understands. But I think that by getting people onto the podcast and interviewing them, where they can talk about their lives and what they've experienced, I really feel like we could, hit on something special and really emphasize the people behind the commercial world.
Definitely.
So we should introduce ourselves. Who are we?
Yeah,
why are we here?
Who are you?
My name, as I already said, is Teny Kuti. I'm a second-year law student at Aston University in Birmingham. That's not even a Birmingham accent. And I'm also an aspiring solicitor. Some listeners may or may not know me from my political/historical blog, The Whole Spectrum, where I every so often just write about things that interest me from those areas. So I've written about Theresa May and her snap election. I've written about Black Lives Matter. I've written about the Toll Puddle Martyrs. So
The what? Sorry.
Read my blog to find out exactly who the Toll Puddle Martyrs are.
You see, he's just basically brought that up as a ploy for marketing.
I'm just saying, it's a pretty good blog if you want to go read it. But yeah,
Sounds good.
That's pretty much me in a nutshell. Yourself?
Right, fair enough. Well, I'm Modou Keita, second year law student as well. I have the unfortunate fate of having to go through classes with Teny.
Wow.
But that's neither here nor there.
When we actually go to lectures.
Sorry?
When we actually go to lectures.
Oh, don't brush me with the same. No, I go to lectures. Nah, I'm joking. I try my best. Anyway, I'm not so much as inclined to do blogs as Teny is. I mostly just like to do sports. That's my main hobby, I guess. So in the past few years, I've basically been shifting from three sports. Shifting through three sports. Sorry. So American football. I've been playing that for 2 years. Won 2 awards. Won Rookie of the Season, which kind of surprised me. But
Very impressed. I'm so proud of you.
Oh, thank you. And I play basketball, but that's not so much on any level. It's just basically street level. It's quite an interesting.
Yes, street basketball.
Street basketball.
My favorite type of basketball.
It's the worst kind of basketball. Because people just make up rules as they go along.
That is so true.
This year I am playing football for the Aston Stags, which is the Aston University men's football team. And it's good. I think, I really value sports because it's just a really good way to spend your off time because, you're getting fit. Physical exercise is really important. Not just physically, but mentally as well. So, that's pretty much me. And, Great.
I do want to talk about, just before we actually get into the show, how we both had the same idea for a podcast separately.
Yeah.
And then, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So what was it? I think throughout summer, I'm just going to say from my point of view, I just thought, second year is a fantastic time to really step up your game, and I really need to get the skill of commercial awareness, and what better way to do it than to go on this journey with students. And then I automatically thought, who in my class do I see being, like-minded and able to pick up on the same thing and drive it with me? And little do I know, I'll call Teny, telling him about, I've had this. I'm thinking I'm a genius at this point. I'm thinking, I've had this fantastic idea. It's going to be groundbreaking. And he's like, I've had the same idea.
Yeah.
And it made it that much more bizarre because we were like, we were having the same idea at the same time. So it was great. I think that kind of, I don't want to get philosophical, but real quick, I think
great minds think alike.
Yeah, but also the concept that people don't have ideas, but ideas have people.
Okay.
Yeah. You can see, what I mean by that is, it's not my concept, but anyway, ideas have, ideas have people because, I'm not going to get into it. I shouldn't have even brought it up now because, I'm not going to do it justice by trying to explain it, but moving on to you.
Let's not turn commercial minds into philosophical minds.
Yeah, we wouldn't want that.
But I had been thinking after my first year exams, I'd wanted to start a podcast for ages just because I listened to a lot of them about a bunch of different stuff. Joe Rogan's awesome. He's an interviewer. And he was one of my main inspirations, him and Colin Moriarty about just
Moriarty. That's Incredible
Irish name, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the arch nemesis of Sherlock.
Yeah. I mean, not the guy I'm talking about, but yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, they both do interview shows, and they really inspired me to want to do the interview thing. But then I was like, why just do a random interview show when I can make it about commercial awareness and increase this skill that every employer kind of wants you to have? So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Killing two birds with one stone kind of thing. Yeah.
I think it's also important to mention, just before we get onto the actual news story and start the show, that we're not experts by any means.
Yeah.
Like,
Big disclaimer.
we're both just like second year law students.
Yep.
Like, we know about like business and stuff, but we haven't had like 50s experience in the industry.
Yeah.
So
we try our best. We try our best, but we're definitely going to make mistakes. And that's one of the reasons why we've set up the Twitter page. And we also have a Google forum, which we are currently working on, or already is there. But yeah, we just want interaction from you guys telling us, you know, if we do hopefully it won't be occasional, but when we do overstep the mark, I guess, which we will really steer away from. But apart from that, it doesn't have to be just negative feedback, but just constructive feedback telling us what we did well or what you would like to hear more about on the podcast. That would really be helpful, because that's the only way it's going to grow and become better.
Very well said. Very well said.
Thank you. I am quite articulate.
So with that out of the way, with that incredibly long 11-minute intro, 12-minute intro out of the way, let's get into the news of the week. So, our first story comes from the Financial Times. Popular British retailers New Look and Iceland are set to change ownership as a South African company called Brait looks to sell its shares in both retailers within the next 5 years. The company is suffering from its own share of debt to the tune of 11.9 billion rand, which converts to £630 million. Brait currently owns 63% of Iceland and 19% of New Look. Iceland became a public company in 1984, and Brait became a majority shareholder in 2015, with the rest owned by Iceland's founder, Sir Malcolm Walker, and his family/management team. The chain saw sales rise by 2.4% this year, but currently has a debt of £736 million. Now on to New Look. New Look is currently 19% owned by Brait and has struggled lately. In 2019, they saw same-store sales in the UK increase by 7.4%. A large contributor to their overall earnings, before tax dropping by £20 million. So,
it's just a classic story of retailers, how the retail market is really suffering recently. And the major reason you hear for it is because of online shopping now. But how much can you really just keep saying that it's online? Because New Look has an online website, right?
They do, yeah, but I'm not sure it's like... Well, reading the actual article from the Financial Times, it seems like a lot of New Look sort of issues are coming from the fact that people just aren't shopping there anymore.
Why do you think that is?
It's just in terms of the products that they actually sell, you know?
Yeah.
Apparently they face criticism for their products being too safe and not sort of experimental enough, I guess.
I agree.
Are you a regular New Look shopper?
No. I'm definitely not. I would rather step into Top Man or Primark before I even think about, and H&M. Oh, I love H&M. But yeah, I would never think about stepping into New Look or Next, because to me they are, like you said, they are quite safe. And also the price, if you look at the clothes you're buying, you can buy the same ones in Primark for a fraction of the price you would at New Look. And I guess that's, why would you do that? So if you're trying to be money savvy, it just makes more sense, to save your money at Primark or some other alternative. But the Iceland one is quite interesting because you just reading this, they have a 2.5. They have 2.5 of the UK grocery market.
Yeah, they do.
Shares.
They do.
So
Iceland isn't doing bad. Like they've had Brait pull out, but I think that is mainly due to their own debt and them trying to get out from under themselves.
Yeah.
Rather than a commentary on Iceland itself.
Yeah.
I think that when Brait pulls out, how do you think that's going to affect the actual UK high street? Because personally, I think it's going to mean great things for Iceland. Because we have this company pulling out.
Yeah.
But the majority shareholder, until they get someone else who may buy the rest of the 63%, but if that 63% gets split up, the majority shareholder becomes the founder.
Yeah.
And his family and his management team, people who know the business and have been there since the beginning.
Yeah, and they can really grow it.
Exactly, yeah. I think they're going to have a knowledge of, one, the UK market, which is different from the South African market.
Definitely, yeah.
And they're going to have a knowledge of the product base that I don't think Brait had.
Yeah.
So I think we really could be seeing, like, an Iceland resurgence in the next few years.
Yeah, I agree with that. They have always had a good reputation. I wouldn't say the reputation got damaged as such, but they have gone downhill slightly, but not in terms of reputation, only because of their competitors have stepped up the game, which I feel like Iceland didn't. But like you said now, with the potential change in management, that would potentially help turn that around.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. And I think you agree with me as well.
Yeah.
I think it means good things for Iceland, not great things for New Look. No. I think New Look is already struggling.
Definitely.
And having this company pull out probably won't mean great things for them in the long run.
Can you see them enlisting on the stock market? Public?
I don't know. I think New Look currently has like a large amount of debts. So I don't think that they would go public.
Yeah.
I think that if they did, not many people would even buy any shares anyway.
It would be just like a WeWork conundrum again.
I mean, I'm not familiar with that, but I'm going to trust you and say,
but definitely, Iceland could definitely ride this this turbulent time and come out at the better side of it. But yeah, New Look is going to struggle as all high street retailers are at the moment. So,
do you think that that's mainly because, like, going back to the original point about like the online market?
Yeah.
People aren't really like doing grocery shopping online, are they?
That's interesting. In terms of grocery shopping, I have seen quite a rise, but I feel like people just trust it better when they go in and they actually pick out the products.
It's definitely not as dominant as like online clothes shop.
Definitely, definitely right on that. So I feel like, yeah, like you said, Iceland and your other major supermarkets are safe at the moment. Most of them even provide the option of both. You can do your shopping online, and I think Asda's quite big on that. They bring it right to your door. But many people just prefer to go in and actually pick out the stuff themselves, and that just makes more sense with your food. So yeah, but New Look, they don't have that diverse of a product portfolio, so it's just seeing the same. It's just bland. You would have a bland wardrobe if you just shopped at New Look for everything.
No offense to our New Look listeners, I'm sure you have a great wardrobe.
Yeah, no offense meant, but yeah.
But
according to my taste anyway, yeah.
I think I'm pretty much old-fashioned in that I pretty much only really do it like going physically.
Well, even in terms of clothing as well.
Yeah,
Fair
yeah.
enough.
I just think that, I can go there, I can try it on,
Yeah.
and I'd rather just, like, know that, okay, this fits me, rather than, like, order it online, and then it comes, and it's too big or it's too small, you have to order it, and then send it back, and it's, like, 2-3 days,
Yeah. It's just a long process. Unless, I think the only pieces of clothing you can do that with confidently are, like, jackets and bags, like, stuff like that.
Yeah.
The sizing is kind of large fits all large. It's quite straightforward.
Exactly.
Whereas with your shirts and stuff like that.
So,
Yeah.
Iceland, good looking out for them?
Yeah.
New look? Not so good.
Not so good. But we'll see.
Alright, so,
There's always space for miracles.
there always is. The second story comes from The Guardian. So, Audi has announced that they'll be cutting 9,500 jobs across their German factories through to 2025 in order to save 6 billion euros for investment in electric cars. This amounts to 1 in 10 of their entire global staff. They also said that they would hire 2,000 new workers in new expert positions in areas such as electric mobility and digitalization. Their chief executive claimed this move would allow them to increase productivity and strengthen their competitiveness of the German plants and their German factories. So, why is this important?
Well, but you seem like you were going to say something. So.
I mean, sure. So, Audi cutting 9,000... Obviously, firstly, our hearts go out to, everyone who lost their job.
Definitely.
But, I think that this is definitely Audi making a statement, saying that our future is electric cars.
Yep.
I think that this is going to cause mass changes in just sort of the infrastructure around Germany.
Yeah.
And around perhaps the whole of Europe as well.
Yeah,
in that we're going to have like more like electric charging stations and stuff like that.
Yeah.
This is definitely a statement made by Audi. 6 billion euros is a lot of money.
Yep.
And they are hiring 2,000 new workers, which does show that they are serious about sort of shifting the main sort of the main goal of Audi will now be electric cars, I assume.
Yeah, and a lot of car companies are shifting towards that, even those that are still being conservative. Like, I love Aston Martin cars, but they're being criticized because they're not taking that shift towards electric cars as much as other companies. So it's quite interesting to see this big shift that is influencing everyone else. But obviously, losing that many, cutting that many jobs is just quite devastating.
Yeah. I do think they will be hired back, though. I do think that naturally, in through to 2025, they're gonna have it's gonna be a lot of R&D on new electric cars, but then they're gonna need people to build those cars, right?
Yeah.
So maybe they won't need them now, but hopefully as production really ramps up and old diesel-based cars are sort of phased out, they'll need to ramp up production, and those jobs will come back.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, at this stage, what are the year figures given for when hopefully most cars in, was it Europe or England, should be all electrical?
That was 2050, I think.
2050?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so 30 years.
Yeah, I could see that.
Definitely see that happening.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Especially if we have more car companies like Audi making this this is 1 in 10 of their staff was laid off.
Yeah.
In order to make way for electric cars. This is definitely a shift that's happening.
Yeah, definitely is. So it'll be quite interesting to see.
Yeah, and I also would like to point out that there are numerous other factories in Germany that make cars.
A lot of them go there.
Yeah.
I think Tesla also opened up their factory there as well.
Oh, wow.
I'm sure it was Germany.
Okay. Tesla is a forward-thinking company though, so I would assume that a lot of their car manufacturing process is done by machines.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is another risk.
Yeah, for facing the car manufacturers.
Yeah. Well, the people who lost their jobs, by the time like 2025 comes around and they want to manufacture all these new electric cars,
Yeah.
here's hoping that it's not all automated and these people won't actually get their jobs back.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It seems like the industry is taking a push more towards automated manufacturing, but obviously that's more expensive, but could be seen as more efficient.
It could.
Could be.
I also want to point out the oil industry.
Oh, okay.
Because naturally...
Saudi Aramco.
Sorry?
Saudi Aramco.
I don't know who that is.
Okay.
Who is that?
That's the Saudi oil producers. They're like the biggest producers of oil.
Oh, okay.
They produce like 80% of the world's oil. That could be incredibly wrong, but yeah, I'm gonna stick by it for this.
I didn't know that, but either way, I mean, that's really interesting. I assume that company's definitely gonna have a problem with Audi's move towards electric cars because...
Mm-hmm. But then again, you do need oil for other things, so yeah.
True, but this is just cutting off one revenue stream, you know?
That's true, definitely true.
As people start to adopt more electric cars, we're gonna have these oil companies that are gonna do what exactly?
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
Like, I don't think in our lifetimes we'll ever come across a point where no one is using oil.
Yeah.
Like, oil will always be used for something whether it's like big factories, if it's not actually going to, the actual cars themselves.
Yeah.
But,
for something.
Yeah, no, I think that we could potentially see the oil companies making a move to sort of stop the adoption of electric cars.
And how would they do that?
Lobbying. They have lobby groups in every government around the world, so.
But it kind of, even though I hear what you're saying, definitely, with the climate, the environment around that topic of climate change and stuff like that, I don't think a lot of people would support them if it came to that, of them, saying, "Oh, keep buying our oil, please." we know you want your electric cars, but keep buying our, because we really do need to sort ourselves out. I think by those figures given, we have like 7 months to fix up, or else we're at the point of irretrievable breakdown.
You say that, but money speaks louder than anything else.
Yeah.
And these oil companies, such as, what was the company you said earlier?
Saudi Aramco.
Yeah, them, BP, Shell, they're giving insane amounts of money to their lobbying groups to ensure that we don't have like legislation passed that, essentially hinders their business. Yeah, exactly.
Wealthy. You're right.
Exactly. And I just wonder what's going to happen to these businesses once more car companies like Audi start shifting wholly towards electric cars.
Definitely.
I mean, there's also, this is somewhat of a tangent, but what about the enthusiasts,
What
the car enthusiasts who love the sound of gears changing and...
Well, we're past that now. We're past that now. The climate is not going to give us any room for us to be revving engines on. I mean, just the sheer statistics about air pollution in places like, I think India has the worst. They just had an incident recently where I'm not, completely 100% on this, but they had to shut some schools down because the air pollution was so bad.
Wow.
Yeah, so, and Asia as well, as in Japan and all of those countries, is very bad there. I think the UK is decent, but we're quite bad as well. So the whole world just seems to be like the air pollution is getting worse and worse. We already got acid rain. We've had that for how many years?
Wait, I'm sorry, acid rain?
Don't worry, it's not going to peel your skin off. No, it's just like, I don't know the science behind it, but we definitely have acid rain. That's why you see so many statues discolored so easily.
Oh,
So
right.
instead of being the original color, they become like that murky green kind of color.
Man, even I'm learning things on commercial minds.
Yeah. You learn every day.
So, any final comments on our second story?
Right. Well, not really. Everything's been said. I think, yeah, there's a big push for electric cars, and we are going to see it one way or another because there's a huge demand for it.
Yeah.
Now, the question is, how do they make those cars affordable for, everyone?
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. So, our third story. Our next story comes from The Guardian, again, and is titled, As Hong Kong Suffers, China Risks Losing Its Financial Window on the World. But first, I think it'd be useful to give some background on the current state of Hong Kong, since Hong Kong is a massive part of our next story, and not everyone is up to date on the state of Hong Kong.
Yep.
So, for those who don't know, Hong Kong was a British colony for 156 years until 1997, when it was given back to the Chinese. The state currently operates under a one country, two systems policy, where Hong Kong is given a great deal of sovereignty, including like its own parliament, and it's like given control over its own laws. But it's technically a part of China's country. It's also Asia's leading international business center. Its current chief executive is Carrie Lam. So a chief executive is essentially like their lead, like their president or their prime minister.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So, that's the background on Hong Kong. The current unrest began when the Hong Kong Parliament introduced a bill that would allow criminal suspects to be extradited to the Chinese mainland. Now, this caused protests because many people feared that it would increase Chinese influence over Hong Kong and allow for activists or journalists to be treated as criminals and be detained in communist China. The Hong Kong people really value their sovereignty as their own country.
Yeah.
But this has obviously become an issue now because of this bill, and I assume people are just feeling the pressure because obviously when 2047 comes around, that under that deal essentially Hong Kong is supposed to be given fully back to the Chinese, but as we can see from the unrest that's happening in Hong Kong right now, people don't really want that to happen.
Yeah, it really seems like it's going to be a problematic run up to that year.
Yeah. So, let's get on to the actual story. Now that we've got all the background out of the way. So, this is from The Guardian. The unrest in Hong Kong is threatening the whole region, leading to its worst recession in 10 years, as the protesters' aim of squeeze the economy to increase the pressure seems to be working. The economy is expected to shrink by 1.4% in 2019 and 3% in 2020 as trade and commerce falters across the Hong Kong peninsula, I guess. Is it a peninsula?
I don't even know what peninsula means, so I'm not going to try and go there.
A peninsula is like a beach almost. Like it's connected to water, basically. I believe.
In that sense, everything would be a peninsula because we're all connected
anyway,
to water.
Back to the story.
Yeah.
Hong Kong-based airport Cathay Pacific saw a 35% decrease in the number of passengers in October, and retail sales fell 18% in September. Compounding this economic issue is the pending bills from the good old US of A. The Hong Kong Human Rights and Democracy Act, which would implement annual checks to ensure that Hong Kong has sufficient autonomy from Beijing and potentially levy sanctions if this autonomy isn't being met. There's also another bill that has been approved recently by the Senate, which would ban the export of crowd control munitions to Hong Kong. All of this shows which side the United States is on in this sort of unrest and paints a bleak picture for the future of China's economy. So, bleak picture, I think, is a bit of an overstatement now. Looking at this, I think that China is one of the world's fastest developing economies, and although Hong Kong is a massive part of that, I don't think that this unrest is going to vastly diminish China's status as the fastest growing economy.
Yeah, true. Because they have wonderful industry over there, so I don't think, even though Hong Kong is a large port for commercial business, I don't think, like you said, it's going to have that much of an impact. But, no, it's quite interesting though that the British did keep it. Well, they haven't fully handed it back until 2047 or whatever the year is, and that's because they've basically made it like I'm guessing they've made it a huge financial hub for themselves as well as other Western countries, rather than just fully isolating it to the east. But
well, I should clarify that Britain doesn't still have like major control over.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I don't even know where I was going with that, but but no. What would this mean for commercial business as a whole? Well, it will be a detriment, definitely.
Well, you say that, but other businesses say different. So,
okay.
HSBC. Did you know that HSBC was once called the Hong Kong and Shanghai Banking Corporation?
I did not.
Get it? HSBC?
Yeah, I know.
That was amazing to me. But anyway,
What's it called now?
HSBC. It's still called HSBC.
Well, what does it stand for now? Or does it still stand for the same thing?
It still stands for that, yeah. I assume it was just like shortened.
Okay.
Hong Kong and Banking Corporation, HSBC. Get it?
Not really. Say it again. No, because you said Hong Kong and banking, so where's the S?
So ignore the Kong and ignore the and. Hong.
Yeah.
Okay, there's no S.
No. Okay, just move on to your point.
Oh, wait, Shanghai. Shanghai is the S.
There we go. Now you're back on track. Yeah.
I'm back.
Yeah, so the Hong Kong and Shanghai Banking and Finance.
Hong Kong and Shanghai Banking Corporation.
Banking Corporation.
All right, the listeners get it, okay?
I'm sure they do now. We've repeated it 1,000 times.
So, last month, HSBC said that they're committed to the region. And this is after months of protesting, after we've had companies like Cathay Pacific see such a decrease in the people who want to actually come through to Hong Kong. Mm-hmm. I think this is a positive sort of twist on this story. I think that, we have the US and China trade war. We have this sort of bleak picture of Hong Kong's future, but such a prominent business like HSBC pledging and saying, hey, we believe in this, we think it's gonna work out. I think that's sort of encouraging.
That is something to bank on, definitely.
Bank on, get it?
HSBC. Yeah, I meant every piece of that. But no, it's interesting. You also mentioned the bleak image that's been painted of a Hong Kong economy, or it's also similar to how globally there's kind of a bleak image. Like you said, the US-China trade war. Germany, the biggest economy in Europe, is currently, in an economic downturn. Brexit, forgive me for saying, I had to just sneak it in. I just had to sneak it in some way. But yeah, Brexit is going on. And, globally you feel there's a sense of near economic despair. What are your thoughts on that? How do you feel? I mean, I wouldn't agree with the view that we're gonna have like a global recession or anywhere near the 2008 credit. That sort of.
I mean, you say that, but no one saw that coming. That's partly why it was so devastating.
True.
I mean, a few people saw it coming, but no one listened to them until it was too late, essentially.
Yeah, that's true.
People really underestimate how bad that was. Like, it was bad.
Yeah.
But we're getting off topic.
No. It's like, I'm interested to learn about that because I came to this country 2009. So I don't think I was...
I actually didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, you see?
Okay.
I'm just spilling more tea by the minute. But yeah, so I was interested. I mean, when I came here, I guess obviously from Africa, I'm going to think this place is, paradise. Gambia is not the wealthiest country, but yeah, I didn't really get that sense of there was economic, not ruin, but there was an economically challenging time happening. So what shows in the effects of a recession?
So essentially in a recession, it's, well, I don't know about general recession, but in the 2008 recession, it was mainly felt by banks. There were like dozens of bank branches just closed. People lost their money.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Northern Rock was one of those, I believe.
Yeah. And people basically lost their houses. It was bad. It was basically, I think it was caused by people taking out loans they couldn't afford on like mortgages.
The way you said that, I mean, now that you listen to it, it sounds like, yeah, that probably doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but basically, it was like banks were approving loans. I think this was mainly in America. Yeah. But yeah, they were approving loans on people who couldn't pay it back.
We did this as part of our Foundation Fortnite thing last year or something.
We did. So just to explain for the listeners. Mm-hmm. So essentially, Aston does this thing for... Is it just law students?
No, I don't think so.
I think it is.
Is it?
Yeah.
Or business school students.
Business school students. Yeah. There's this thing called Foundation Fortnite, which essentially eases you into, studying law at university.
Before you get slapped in the face by loads of books and folders.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, they just essentially gave us things to properly research.
Yep.
But it was sort of just to introduce you to use proper sources like the Financial Times, like the BBC. Don't use Wikipedia. Yep. Essentially.
Yeah, and one of the tasks we were given was to research the 2008 credit crunch, and I believe we had to write our own summary.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. So, yeah, that's just a bit of background on that.
Anyway, linking that back to our actual story, I don't see, any of the US's bills or this Hong Kong unrest leading to anything like 2008. I think that essentially, so one of the US's bills, the Hong Kong Human Rights and Democracy Act, would allow the US to withdraw special privileges on trade access.
Okay.
That Hong Kong and China already have.
Yeah.
And if we were to remove that, it would actually damage Hong Kong's and China's economy.
Yeah.
But I don't really see that happening, although we do have Trump. So
no, please, let's not.
Well, no, I'm just saying that Trump is a large reason of why we have this US-China trade war in the first place.
Please go into detail.
Well, wasn't it just him who fired the first shot in this trade war, I guess?
Yeah, because the Obama administration did have something of an agreement with China, and we just the term trade war really came to light when Trump came in, and I don't know what he did, but
yeah, exactly. I'm not saying that because Trump is Trump, but it's Trump's administration.
No, we wouldn't dare do that. Trump is a wonderful man.
Well, that's you're gonna be alone on that
island. So what's the final verdict on this one? You don't think it's going to materialize as worse as people are thinking or forecasting? Is that fair to say?
I researched this statistic that the Hong Kong stock market has only lost 2.2% since June, which, given the sort of severity of the unrest,
Yeah.
I think like at one point 1/7 of the entire population was protesting in the streets.
Yeah.
It's pretty severe. We didn't really. I mean, you would have expected more.
More, yeah. So that just shows how businesses are still trusting
In
region
China and
more.
in Hong Kong, yeah.
They're trusting the region more. So that, yeah, I think you're right.
I think that as long as, the businesses keep faith, and if businesses keep faith, then they obviously see this Hong Kong unrest as not being like a major long-lasting thing. I'm curious to see whether it will last into 2020, personally.
What will? This unrest or as in...
The unrest is in like the protests.
Yeah. I think it will. They seem very determined. The Hong Kong residents, nationals. They seem they're quite angry about the changes that have been made. So I can see it going into 2020, to be fair. But I also believe that the longer it goes on, the more likely it will have an effect. So at the moment, it's 2.2 of what was that statistic again?
The Hong Kong market's only lost 2.2%.
Yeah, I think that could get bigger the more this goes on, because then businesses will start seeing, perhaps it's not just a little fling, it's actually more deep rooted than that. But
Yeah.
we'll wait to see.
The riots have sort of progressed like beyond sort of Hong Kong sovereignty to more like against like police brutality.
Yeah.
And I worry that the longer this goes on, the more we're going to see police brutality, which is going to encourage China more to like deploy military action.
Hopefully
So,
not. Yeah.
yeah.
Hopefully not.
Final story.
Ooh, excited about this one.
It's a lighter one. It's definitely a
Yeah.
lighter one. This story comes from The Economist. Google's launch of Google Stadia marks their long-rumored entry into the video game space. Stadia presents a move away from traditional physical media within games, as it allows users to stream games from one of Google's numerous data centers around the world to essentially any device with a screen. The decline in physical media poses a threat to video game retailers such as Game and Computer Exchange, who employ thousands and rely on physical media sales. However, the launch has been less than perfect for Google, as many users have reported low resolution, slow response times, and significantly lower quality than what was promised by Google. These issues, foreseen by many within the industry, mean that Stadia will struggle to persuade developers to publish on their software, and struggle to persuade consumers to adopt this new way of playing. So, is Stadia going to sink Google if it fails?
Definitely not. Definitely not. The sheer size of Google's business, this is... I think what they've done here is just jump the gun. They were really eager to innovate, and this is a really big innovation.
Yeah,
I do believe. And it definitely has a lot of potential, but yeah, they just jumped the gun. Because when you think about it, does PS4 have this kind of system?
PlayStation does, yes.
PlayStation, Xbox.
Xbox does, yes. The only one who doesn't is Nintendo.
Okay.
Well, Xbox is, Microsoft, who owns Xbox,
Yeah.
is coming out with their software later in like 2020.
Okay.
Sony, which owns PlayStation,
Yeah.
already has their software called PlayStation Now.
Which you can... So, with Stadia, you can just download it on any Google device?
Yeah. Essentially...
What about the PS4 one? Not the PS4 one, sorry, the PlayStation Now one. How do you
PlayStation,
download it?
can be used on your laptops. Essentially, the whole draw for the Google Stadia was that you don't need a console, you just have like any controller, and all you need is like access to the internet. So any device that can access to the internet, you'll be able to play on it.
Yeah.
However, at launch, you can only use it on like their Google Chromecasts or like their Pixel phones.
Yeah.
Like ideally, the idea of going to Google, typing in, I don't know, Fortnite, and then being able to play that instantly.
It sounds great, yeah.
Yeah. But I don't think anyone was looking for a way to play games like that, you know?
Yeah, not yet anyway.
Yeah.
Because there's just a feel about, well, me personally, there's just a feel about actually buying the disc and bringing it home, unwrapping it, and just, even though many people find it, I mean, the downloads, GTA, oh my goodness, GTA's download is the most annoying. You have
It's
to
like
leave
80
it.
gigs now,
Yeah.
90 gigs or something. It's crazy.
You have to leave it for what? It's almost a full day before you can. No, okay, not a full day. That was a bit drastic.
I mean, it depends
But-
on your internet, really.
Yeah, that's true. But as long as it's like a quick, I don't know, 20-minute download, that's kind of builds up anticipation, and you kind of look forward to that.
Definitely.
So with this one, yeah, they, like you said, we don't have a need for it at this moment in time, and also it kind of makes the assumption that everyone has good internet.
Which we don't.
We don't.
As I can testify from living in university accommodation for 2 years now. It's not the best.
Yeah, but hopefully it will be better soon. I mean, with the general election coming up, gonna get political just for a slight second. Many of the parties in their manifestos have actually it could be just Labour, but they've mentioned how they're going to be committed towards introducing 5G and fiber optic to every household. You know, that's the idea, but obviously realizing that is, going to be much more difficult. But as long as there's that push, it is a possibility. But at this moment in time, I feel like them rushing it just to push it into the market is in a way, it's actually kind of gonna backfire now, because now the next time it comes out, people might already have a preconception of, oh, I tried it last time, it lagged. I'm not gonna do it again.
I think something that is overlooked is that with Google Stadia, streaming is the only way to play your games. Whereas with PlayStation now, you have the option.
Yeah.
So I could say I'm like going on a trip somewhere and I definitely need to play Fortnite. Like, I can buy a subscription, but then if that subscription doesn't work out, I can still use my PlayStation.
Yeah.
Whereas with Google, it being the only way to play, I think that's really limited them.
Yeah.
But I think just looking at this in terms of like its effect on the high street, it's not going to affect the high street.
No, it's not.
I
mean, when you say that high street, who are you talking about?
I'm
big
talking
games
about like the
Game.
big video game retailers, you know?
Game and... I mean, do you consider CEX to be a big video? Even though they're mainly recycled products, so people buy it from like Game and then they sell it to them. I think they're still a major player.
They are, definitely, yeah.
Definitely.
They rely on physical media, you know?
They do.
So, I mean, Google Stadia isn't really going to affect them because Google Stadia has failed to sort of make streaming a big thing, as has PlayStation Now.
Yeah, that's true. PlayStation Now, you don't really hear about it much.
It's trucking along, you know?
It's just there.
It's out there. It's doing its thing.
How do you think that can be changed in terms of making people more aware of... Firstly, do you think companies will... I don't think companies will want to push it just towards streaming, because selling the consoles as well brings them revenue.
That's actually not true.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. What do you mean?
Most PlayStation, Sony, Nintendo, and Microsoft.
Yeah.
They don't really make that much money on hardware. They make their money on the software.
Okay.
So they make their money from like essentially every game that's sold on PlayStation.
They get like a percentage of that.
Sony gets I think 70% or something like that.
70%.
It might be 40. I'm not sure.
Actually, no, that makes sense because that's the system you're playing it on. So
yeah, exactly.
Of course, yeah.
They get a percentage of that revenue, and then a percentage of that goes to obviously the developers, and then a percentage of that goes to the high street market that sold their game.
Yeah.
So I think it's encouraged for these companies to sort of cut out the physical stores, so then when they can just sell them straight, they get more profit. naturally.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, cut out the middle, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never knew that. Thank you.
We learn things on commercial
No,
minds.
we do, definitely. I'm actually grateful to have learned that today. So yeah, definitely, Stadia is definitely not going to affect Google just because it's failed. People will just be like, yeah. I mean, everyone uses Google search engine. Everyone uses what was the phone they
Pixel.
Pixel,
Yeah.
exactly. That's had a relative success.
I've heard people really enjoy it. Like, it's a really good phone, and it's not like, I think it's like half the price of like the latest iPhone as well.
Exactly.
It's like £400, and iPhones are like 1,000 now.
iPhones are ridiculously priced, but we love them.
That we do. That we do. And on that note,
It's time to finish.
that brings an end to the first episode of Commercial Minds.
It's been a pleasure talking to you guys. Hope you really enjoyed it. Please do get in touch with us at C Minds Podcast.
On Twitter, yes.
And, yeah, I'm sure it's C Minds Podcast. And yeah, definitely looking forward to hearing you guys what you think and any feedback you might have. What about you, Teny? Any closing remarks?
Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone. Again, let us know if there's anything you want to see, anything you hate, anything you love.
Well, hate is a strong word. Let's say
anything you dislike
there we go.
about the podcast. And
Please don't hate us.
Yeah, please. I need love.
I mean, that doesn't sound like a problem the audience can fix.
That's true. That's true.
But yeah.
But yeah, now I'm gonna go back and do my intellectual property coursework. So yeah.
Yay, same here.
Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you in about 2 weeks.
Thank you all. Have a great day.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.